Sports Reverends podcast. My name is Dan, and I'm joined by my big bro. He is known as the coach, Coach Joel. He's not only a coach on the basketball court, a furious one, but also a coach in the stock markets as well. I am a pastor in downtown Toronto, also a chaplain for Toronto Fire, and we got a very special show for you today. You know, a lot of podcasts, they'll give you something to take away. Some will make you laugh. Some will make you think about how to solve a crime. My wife is into those kind of podcasts. It's a little bit scary. Some will help you get the gains at the gym. Our podcast will give you something that's greater than all those things. It's actually the solution to every single one of all of your problems. Think about that. I know that's a bold statement, but we'll talk about how different life experiences of us being dragged through the mud and us being stuck in the crises of life where God has pulled us out of those situations. That is the solution. Our faith in Christ is the solution to every single one of our problems. We want to share that with you and give you that solution as well. And we're very sports oriented, sports related. We're all about the hot topics. We'll give you some great analysis along the way. And we'll also talk about how it combines with our faith growth as well. So, Coach, why don't you give them a rundown of the show and let's get at it.
All right. Welcome. We are looking at today our quick hitters as always. We're going to talk a little bit of everything it feels like today, except basketball, which is kind of, NBA basketball, which is a little off-brand for us, but that's okay. We looked at some NFL rule changes, NCAA tourney, it's going to be wrapping up soon. Hockey, a little bit of hockey with my boy and the Shifley and the Jets, and a tad of baseball. And then we're going to wrap up the show today talking the Real Talk, which is our favorite section about choices. Can your choices be all in? Can you admit when you're wrong? Things like that. And how do you choose to live your faith is very important if you decide to choose at all. So Dan, why don't you start us off with our quick hitters?
All right, we got the Memphis Grizzlies. They have fired Taylor Jenkins while sitting in fifth place in the Western Conference
Position. Wildness. Wow. Just wild. Now another record coming in the form of Ovi. Alex Ovechkin just 5 goals away at the time of our pod from breaking Wayne Gretzky's goals record.
His last regular season game is against Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ooh. Could be a fitting day to break the record.
Interesting. I like it.
I think we predicted this one. Max Scherzer is on the 15-day DL with a thumb soreness. Yeah, I predict an under 25 season start for this guy.
Well, maybe he was just playing too much Fortnite or something. Who knows? Left-handed pitcher Garrett Crochet from the Boston Red Sox signs a 6-year, $170 million extension.
Big money. All number 1 seeds from the men's NCAA basketball tournament have made the Final Four. Very impressive, very chalky. Before we go anywhere else, let's handle some of our business, Coach.
Yeah, as we mentioned in the opening monologue, I am a financial coach, but not in the sense of I tell you what to buy. Instead, I teach you, and our company teaches you, how to trade in the stock market, so that if for whatever reason the world ended today on the financial side, you'd be able to have the skill set on your side to do this without our help. It's about learning a skill set. And so check us out at www.train2invest.com, train2invest.com, and learn a little bit about us and what our goals are. And what we're trying to do is not only teach you, but your family, a skill set you can pass down through generations to help change the way you live your life, whether it's trying to find a way to retire or plan to retire, or strategy, a second source of income. Maybe you want to generate money for a wedding or sending your kids to college or something along those lines. We are here to teach you and to make sure that you are successful. But go check us out at www.train2invest.com, train2invest.com, download the free ebook, and once you go through it, reach out to us. We want to see if we're a fit for what you want to do. And it's been a real blessing because this is one of the ways that I know I've been able to increase my kingdom giving all throughout. So really important for that as well. So if you're ready to move on to the next step, if you're tired of somebody else telling you that 2, 3, 4% return is good, or if you have no idea what your return even means, check us out and we will connect with you and see if what we do is what you need for your life goals. All right. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. The NFL has done an amazing job of capturing the news cycle for the entire calendar year. It is the midst of March Madness, 64 teams of craziness. And yet, we're talking about rule changes in the NFL for the upcoming season. It's absolutely incredible. So let's I want to get your take on a few of these. A couple of things like the tush push have been put on the table, which is a-okay. But we're going to see kick touchbacks will now be placed at the 35-yard line instead of 30-yard in an attempt to get teams to start returning the ball. What do you think there?
Yes, I think it's an offensive oriented viewpoint
Mm.
that the the player association, the league, they want to do. So yeah, they want more returns. It didn't help that throughout the every NFL game, the announcers were talking about how wow, he is actually returning it out of the end zone this game or this round. So I think that added to it. So they kind of gotta get on board with that. I didn't hate it. It still looks a little gimmicky, still looks a little funky, but hey, more returns. At the end of the day, I'm for it. I'm for more offense. We'll go step by step here. Let's go because I do have some opinions as an overall.
Okay, perfect. I miss the days of Devin Hester just bursting one out and going for the end zone. Him and the Chicago return games were insane. How about this one? I think something that a lot of us were hoping for is that both teams will be able to possess the ball in overtime, at least in the regular season, even if a team scores an offensive touchdown on the first possession.
Yeah, I think that it's okay. I don't know. I think it's kind of gimmicky as well. I think it takes away the defensive prowess in the NFL. There is something special about being able to stop a team. It's not it's almost like it's a 60-40 split, I believe, of teams that start with the ball in overtime and if they score a touchdown it's done with. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I think what they should do is play a quarter. Play a quarter out, back and forth, real game.
Interesting. So I'm on the I think I'm on the opposite side of you for this one. I think this is a great change to the rule because, like you said, the NFL is an offensively geared game. The rules are already in the favor of the offense, and so while a defense may be astounding, they're at a disadvantage every time they step onto the field. So I think giving the chance for the other offense to have a go is really important. I think it does change the strategy about if you're gonna start or not start with the ball. Because obviously before, if you won the toss, you'd start and you'd go for a touchdown. This time, if you like you said, you trust your defense. Maybe you say, "Hey, defense, go get a stop, go get a field goal, and we're gonna go get a touchdown on the way back." Changes the strategy a little bit. I like it. I am a big proponent. I thought the NFL rule like that was kind of silly, but I think ideally you want them to play another quarter. But I think it's a union thing with people getting hurt, and it's going to be bad for that kind of thing.
That's fair. No, I think you're right. It is better than what it was, for sure. And it's closer to playing a quarter than what it was. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
Okay. A little bit of sway there. That's good. That's good. On-site replay officials will be permitted to reverse flags that are thrown for hits to defensive players or defenseless players, face masks, horse collars, tripping, and roughing the kicker calls. What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I thought they were already able to do that. What's been happening? What's been happening this whole time? Like what were they doing before?
I think they weren't reviewing them unless it was within 2 minutes. Even if that, I mean, it wouldn't be reviewed at all.
That's interesting. So yeah, it's okay. Sure, I'm okay with it. Get the right call, get the right play. It'll take away some of those the missed ones that are egregious.
Mm.
I just don't want it to slow down the game too much.
Yeah, I think that's important, not slowing down the game. But these are also some of the hardest calls to make in real time, I think. The horse collar, not so much because that's kind of pretty egregious when you see guys grab them and drop them down. But like roughing the kicker or even tripping the kicker, that the kickers can add a little bit of dramatic flair to make it look like they may or may not be. Face masks often get missed a lot. You can see the guy's heads yank, and then all of a sudden there's still no call. So I think it's a good idea. I think the more accurate you can get in terms of calling the game correctly, the better. You have these amazing athletes, amazing talents to see things get missed that shouldn't be missed. Like for example, that in a playoff game against with New Orleans, I think, where the DB pushes the receiver in the back, like clearly in the back in the end zone for a touchdown like that. got missed and just changed the way of the game. So I'm all for being more accurate. I'm all for being more to better rulings for the game, but it can't be dragging the game out for 4 hours. That's not happening.
Sometimes when they do replays, though, the acting makes it look worse than what it really is in real time, right? So I think they got to be at least looking out for that as well, because there's more players. We saw Patrick Mahomes as he was touched, go into the out of bounds,
Yeah,
flailing, and there's always a chance to get the call. So I don't fault him for that. Like, he's doing whatever he can to get the thing. Every lineman, defensive lineman that's going after the quarterback, they're putting their arms up in the air because they feel like they're being held, and so
yeah.
they got to be careful with that too. But
Maybe they can add a
we'll see.
flopping roll. Maybe they can add a flopping roll like they do in basketball.
That's
I think
helped.
that'd be a
That's
good
helped a
idea.
lot in basketball, right?
Yeah, I think. Wow. I will say this. I think basketball refereeing is probably the biggest joke day to day than any other sport. It's very inconsistent, it's very inaccurate, and it's catered a lot to the stars. If
Yeah.
they called it the way they were supposed to call it, I think you get maybe 3 weeks of talk show hosts criticizing it. But by the end of the year, you'd have a much better game. But another conversation for a different day.
Which I love about the college basketball game, which I'm excited to talk to you about too.
Yeah, let's roll into that. Nice segue. No Cinderellas this year at all. This is absolutely incredible. I'll let you go first. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, first time since 2008. There's been all firsts in the Final Four. There. I think I'm looking less of it as Cinderellas, as like tight games and games that, like, just because it's been very quote unquote chalky, doesn't mean that the teams have been covering it all. There's been a lot of buzzer beaters and a lot of close games, a lot of good basketball games. That's what I care about more than just saying, oh yeah, a number 10 seed has made it to the Elite Eight and this is something special. I love that too, but to me the most important part is the good basketball. The just level of play has been very, very excellent, and a lot of the games have been just filled with right down to the wire, which team has the better coaching and end game plan, and I love that so far. That's why we see the top teams just being elevated.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you look at this from a basis of I'm a neutral, I don't watch any college basketball year, I don't care about a team. I just like the 3 weeks of pure craziness. This has been one of the best tournaments in a long time. You see the equality come through. You see good refereeing for the most part. You see kids trying really hard to play the best that they can, and you're getting a really good mix of young and mature teams battling it out. And like you said, what you're seeing is the teams that are able to execute down the stretch, teams that are able to play within themselves and not get lost in the moment, are the teams that are generally winning. And while who doesn't love a good Cinderella story, going through the ranks, if this was just a boring tournament where it was sloppy, where we had one team that was way, way, way ahead with nobody else in the contention, then yeah, I get the little bit of the pushback, but overall the basketball has been great. And I think what you're also seeing is the NIL money factor coming in, where guys are able to think about, okay, maybe I'm not going to go to the NBA next year. I'm not
Good
ready.
point.
I don't want to be a second round first pick, right? I'd rather stay in college another year, maybe two, develop my game and be a better NBA prospect. Because in reality, if you're a serious college basketball player, you have two goals. Number one, get drafted. And number two, get that second contract. That second contract is where the money's at, right? That's where you're getting that life-changing money for the most part, where you're saying to yourself, okay, for the next 6 years, I'm making $50 million a year. I'm good. I can now really focus on crafting my game, whatever, whatever, whatever. So as a real NBA prospect, you have those two goals in your overarching theme of in your development, because that's going to set you up for your life, and that obviously once you get that solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you made with the NIL money. No one's really talking about how that it's a attraction to stay
Mm.
instead of taking the leap. Most of them are talking about how it's made it that's why only the favorites are in the finals. And I think we're going to see that over the years change, because there's a lot of programs out there that are able to pay money. and they'll be able to split up the player pool here a little bit as well. There's 500 basketball players in the it's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just
And so think about how that affects football and as well college football. It's going to be wild. That's why you've seen kind of the top dogs even just being bled dry because it's being spread around. Duke and Houston here has been a pretty exciting game to look at. I think this might be the Duke's biggest stopper from them winning the whole shebang. Houston is the first top 25 defense they've played since Duke's last loss. Duke lost to Clemson, who was a top 25 defense. So we'll see if if Houston can, put a little clamps down on Duke and see how they respond. I think they will struggle offensively if Duke can get it going. So that's what they have to rely on as their defense. But I think that's the only chance Duke has of really losing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and Houston to San Antonio is a 4-hour drive. This is a home game for Houston. Regardless of all the corporate seats that'll be sold, you're playing in an NBA arena, lots of seats. It's a long way from North Carolina to get to Texas. So this is basically a home game for Houston. You toss in the fact that the top 25 defense, the pressure's all on Duke. Now, Coach Shire has stepped in remarkably for Krzyzewski. I think you don't see many coaches able to step into those kind of shoes. You're replacing a legend, an absolute legend of the basketball game, and do so well. Yes, he's got a lot of good players on his team, but since he stepped
he's
in,
got some pretty good players.
he's got some good players, but those players have to be like, okay, I still trust in this coach, right? So he has to have a really good recruiting pitch. They've performed decently well the last couple of years, right? They haven't, they've been a pretty solid Kearney team, and they would be even if they didn't have Cooper Flag this year. They've still been a very decent, solid Kearney team, right? So Duke is all the pressure's on them.
They're a
All the
bunch of
pressure's on Cooper
freshmen.
Flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 19-year-old kids.
Cooper
right? Let's
Flag
not
should
forget
be in
that.
his
High school year.
high school senior year. That's how
Senior
crazy
year.
this is.
Yeah. So there's a lot of hurdles for this Duke team, and if they start the game off strong, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be blowing them up by like 10, 15 points. But if they just start the game off hitting some shots, playing good defense, and living in that moment, Duke will win. And that's where I'm going with that piece. The Auburn Florida game. I know Chuck's very happy right now.
Yeah.
I know Chuck is not an avid listener of our podcast, and that's okay. He'll get there. He'll get there one day. I think this is Auburn's to win. I like Florida. They're a good team, but my heart of hearts is just telling me it's Auburn, and it's gonna be Auburn and Duke coming out on top. That's my prediction right there. And I'll give you a score. I'll give you a score. It'll be 137 points total. So 60 plus each team. It's gonna be a little bit of a low scoring game, but I think it's gonna be Duke coming around.
Well, you can look at my bracket, and my bracket is Auburn and Duke in the finals.
Yeah.
Duke coming up on top. 67 is my, I think, final score into the 80s. But Auburn is a very good team. I think Auburn beat Duke this year in their matchup.
I can't remember. I feel like they did.
I feel like it was early in the year as well. But Auburn is, I think Duke and Auburn are a tier above everyone else. The way they play, it's very, very. I think Florida's in trouble. Just watching a little bit of these guys throughout the tournament. Didn't watch during the season, right? Just a little bit in the tournament. And
absolutely.
What I've seen is that Duke and Auburn are a step above everyone else. So it's going to be a great clash in the finals. I think it's going to be great for college basketball. I hope it's a close game. I hope it's a buzzer beater. And I need Auburn and Duke to get to the final and Duke to win for me to win a bracket. So
you jumped up a lot of points.
The guy leading is Duke and has Duke in Florida. The guy in second is in Florida, has Florida winning over Duke. I think I'm the only one with Duke and Auburn.
I think you are, yeah, because I think I'm sitting either one or two spots behind you, and my bracket's busted. So we'll see. We will see. All right, college basketball. We got this on Saturday, Final Four. Monday night, it's probably like an 8:30 start time is the final game.
Yes.
So good times there. Always weird to have it on Monday night, though.
Yeah.
But
it'll be fun. Hey, makes for a great Monday night for me.
Yeah, it's true. Somebody doesn't work. You're all right. Let's flip to the hacky. A little bit of ice here. Our boys, the Winnipeg Jets, challenging for the President's Trophy. Now, for those of you who don't know, the President's Trophy is the trophy given to the team with the best regular season record. And right now it's coming down to Winnipeg Jets and the OV-led Washington team out there.
Capitals.
Yeah, the Capitals out there. I wanted to say Bullets for some reason. I'm like, no, it's not Bullets. It's the Caps.
Aging yourself,
And
brother.
aging myself, yeah,
And wrong sport.
and wrong sport. So, but yeah, the Caps are coming, which is also a bit of a surprise team as well. I thought, given how the last couple of seasons have gone, and this is based off of the website Stathletes, which is used by ESPN. The Jets have a harder strength of schedule at 51.3% versus Washington at 47.3. But the metrics predict that the Washington Capitals will have 100 and on average 114.7 points versus the Winnipeg Jets with 115.9. So it's still some work to do for the Capitals here, but it looks like the Jets could finish with the top record in the entire NHL. I bet you Gary's losing his mind right now.
You know what? Gary and I think most of the Jets fans that have been around, they all kind of have the same thought, which is it's great. They're going to finish first, hopefully, and it's a good accomplishment. But let's see how the playoffs go around. Even the sports books have the Jets as the 9th ranked team to win the cup. Think about that. That's crazy. Going to finish top, and they're the 9th ranked team to win the cup, according to the sports books. I think it'll be interesting for sure. I really hope they do finish. I think it's something special about finishing with the President's Trophy. I think going into the playoffs hot is important as well. Going into the playoffs healthy is important as well. So the Jets, it would be pretty cool to see them versus St. Louis. So it would be like a Biddington versus Connor Hellebuck rematch there, Canada USA. It'd be kind of cool. Like, it also is very scary because Biddington, he can turn up when they need him to. But obviously, are cheering on those Jets. I think the Blues are actually gonna finish 7th, and it's gonna be the Wild that are gonna finish the 8th spot, which will be okay, and that'd be good for the Jets. I think the Blues are sneaky good because of Biddington. So I want to see them take on the Wild in the first round. But at the end of the day, it's the West, just like the NBA. The West is wild, and just like the NHL, the West is wild. It's doesn't matter who you match up against. It's going to be a tough swing. So yeah, that's what I got. Go Jets, go.
Yeah, go Jets, go. I think, if they do end up playing the Wild in the first round, that's another short trip. And I think a lot of Winnipeggers, even though the dollar sucks, will make that trip down there and could make a lot of noise if they were to play the Wild. St. Louis is a bit of a further trip and not easy flights from Winnipeg at least.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but if they do play St. Louis, I think you're right. It's going to be one of the hardest matchups they could get because in the playoffs, it's defense and goaltending that take you as far as you can. You're playing. Your shifts get shorter. You don't see the fourth lines out as much. You really have to rely on your top six to get the points on the board. And if you have amazing goaltending on either end, it becomes a game of inches and mistakes. And I feel that vibe of, yeah, great. If we do well in the regular season, phenomenal. What are we going to do in the playoffs? So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that piece.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if the Jets lose and if they don't even make the conference final, would you put them in a category like the Maple Leafs, regular season performers, but playoffs come and they just stink?
I would say this. I think the Jets don't have in the recent Jets, let's call them Jets 2.0, don't have enough of a history to be called that. I think every year they've made the playoffs, they've come in at a very low seed. There hasn't been an expectation for them to win the series. The years that they've missed the playoffs, they've definitely underperformed. I wouldn't put them as choke artists yet. Toronto, for sure. They have to do something major. They have to win the cup, right? Otherwise, it's always coulda, shoulda, woulda. But Winnipeg, I think this is the first time we've really seen them dominate, like in a very long time. If they don't win 2 rounds, it's going to be a really frustrating year. You can't win the conference and not make it to at least the conference finals.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and the Leafs, before we even talk about them winning the cup, they haven't made the conference finals. And how
The Leafs
long?
are like
So,
the 76ers and Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
I just can't do it. Just can't do it.
that's a compromise or comparison there.
Good analogy.
Or the Suns, the Phoenix Suns too. Come on.
Yeah,
We'll talk about those guys next week.
Yeah. All right. Last bit here. Our favorite, not really. Baseball. The A's have begun their Sacramento visitation. by losing 18-3 to the Cubs. Talk about a home debut in a new city.
Just insane. Just insane. A lot of cool home debuts, though.
Well, Carson Kelly is the first Cubs player to hit for the cycle in 32 years, and I believe he did that against the A's in that home opener. So
Very cool. That
that's
was a very
interesting.
cool story. Yeah, good for the Cubs. Good for the Cubs.
Rafael Devers of our lovely Boston team,
Ugh.
the first player to strike out 10 times in the team's first 3 games of a season. Talk about a slump.
That's a good one. Maybe this is a time
And
for me to say this. Oh, yeah. No, say the
yeah,
next one. Say the next one.
I'll say the last one. And Cincinnati Reds, Ellie De La Cruz, which I typed really awkwardly there, has 7 RBIs against the Texas Rangers using this new torpedo style bat. Have you seen those bats?
Yes, that's kind of what I wanted to bring up. It's
Yeah.
the Yankees have been using it mostly, but there's been a few around, and I was just gonna say maybe this Rafael Devers needs one of these torpedo style bats. Obviously, it is working. It's a small sample size though, so we'll have to wait and see. But logically, I guess it makes sense to me. It's like it's the Yankees. They're kind of like the ones that are out front doing it, and they
Senators?
do what they can to get ahead is what I'm trying to say. They
Oh,
throw out the people with the steroids, A-Rod and the boys,
wow.
they
Wow.
do what they have to do to get ahead. And right now they're not breaking any rules. We'll see the ruling. There's some gray areas in some of the wording about how the bat's supposed to be smooth around the whole way. So obviously this torpedo
Yeah.
style isn't smooth, but to me,
It's
like scientifically, that makes sense. Why would you not do it? You can. So
no, agreed. And for those of you who haven't seen the torpedo bat, Google it. What they've done is they've moved some of the wood core a little lower in the bat, and the top third of the bat looks like a bit of a bowling pin. It's kind of weirdly shaped like that.
every one
And
of the
I
Blue Jays need to take that kind of bat because our offense it's
been
time to explode. Why does our offense always stink?
that home opener was trash. Was absolute trash. I went to the home opener. It was nice on the field presentation with the trophies and stuff, but the product in the field was garbage. They came out absolutely flat for a home opener. The place was packed. It was legitimately packed. It was loud in there. And I think the problem was it was a 3 p.m. start time. I think if you're gonna have a home opener, you want to have it in the evening. I think the evening crowd in Toronto is something different. But yeah, they came out flat and they just didn't look good. They didn't look good. So
Currently sitting at 3-2. They tied that series,
eh,
and we'll see. We'll see how they
we'll see.
do. They're
They got a
already
couple
kind
games
of
against the
reeling.
Nats.
They're already kind of reeling because we lost Scherzer, and we don't have the depth in our pitching. I don't remember the time we've ever had the depth in starting pitching, which so many teams that are successful have. So I don't know what Shapiro and Atkinson are doing there in that sense. But hey, what do I know?
That's the process, and we'll see. Maybe Alec Manoa is going to come up. Okay, we gotta have some faith. The guy's going to catch something. We hope. We hope. Cool.
Grasping at straws now. Grasping at
It's
straws now.
5 games in are already grasping at straws. Yeah, we'll see. I think a couple of easy games against the Nats will help. But yeah, we'll see. All right, enough of that nonsense. Now time for the real stuff. Talking some of the real talk here. And I think in professional development, whether you're at work or in sports, it's very, very difficult to admit when you're wrong. And, in the corporate world, it's if you admit you're wrong, it's like a sign of weakness, and you get people coming after you, coming for your spot in the rotation, as they would say. In the sports world, when you say you're wrong, people expect you to be fired, unless you are the GM of the 76ers who's been trusting the process for a very, 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 very long time. What we're talking about in terms of choices, we see the Cleveland Browns owner, coming back and saying, "Hey, Deshaun Watson, this was a mistake. They swung and they missed, a giant mistake." And I think that's very big because, like as we are talking offline, you have major teams in all major sports that will not admit their mistakes. You can think about the Cowboys still with Dak Prescott and the cap mismanagement there. You can think about when Shaq left LA. That's a big one where no one's saying, they want to blame it Shaq and Kobe. But if I'm the team owners, I'm coming down there and saying, "Hey, I'm paying you guys a butt ton of money. And sure, we had a three-peat, but that was a long time ago. We gave you Gary Payton, we gave you Karl Malone. You guys flamed out to the Detroit Pistons, and I would have pushed more. right? You can think of all sorts of decisions that were made. Well, even look, stick with basketball. Who's the GM for the Bulls who pushed out Phil Jackson?
The
Jerry
guy who
Krause.
passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Krause, right? Like that's a giant, like giant mistake. Could you imagine? They retooled Jordan's. Sure he's tired, but they retooled with a few guys, and boom, you're right back at it. They could have won in the early 2000s. Jordan Kim comes back when he's 40 and is still, dummying some guys, right? So I think it's important when you evaluate your choices. There's two components that are really important. Number one, going all in. Like if you're gonna choose to do something, do it the correct way. And number two is to take a step back and evaluate whether it's worked or not. So how about you, Dan? Dan, have you thought of any kind of either in your personal life or your sports life where you made a choice and it either panned out or it didn't pan out?
Yeah, there's kind of two sports ones that come to mind. Is Jerry Jones is still living off the big Herschel Walker trade years and years ago that led to three Super Bowls in the early 90s where I was still barely able to speak. And when you live off that trade and not being able to adjust since then is absolutely insane. Another one that comes to mind is our Edmonton Oilers when they trade Gretzky to the
Hmm.
LA Kings, and LA goes on to win, I think, one and maybe one or two when it should have been a continued dynasty for the Edmonton Oilers. They've waited till Connor McDavid. How many years later is that for them to even have a sniff
Generations,
of what's
generations.
going on? They made it to the cup last year and they have a sniff of it, and it's been so long. So those are the kind of ones that stick to my mind. What was the crux of your question again?
When you've made a choice and it's turned out poorly or it's turned out well, what have you done to do that correctly, or what have you done to look back at it and say I should fix this?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things growing up, especially in learning of figuring out the whole sports atmosphere, because you and I were really new in it, and our parents didn't know anything about how it really what it takes to get to the next level. So we're figuring it out along the way. And one of the things was, okay, you got to be able to be an athletic freak, right? And I think I figured that out too late, so I started training too late
Mm.
in the sense that it should have been done earlier. And when I decided to make that a priority, I went from barely being able to jump over a paper towel roll to being able to grab the rim and dunk a dodgeball, and I was getting closer and closer as I was growing in that area, and then I stopped and got out of shape, which is that has been growing since then. But that's the truth. But when you put the focus on that, it changed my whole game. It changed everything I did, whatever sport I played. I was not tired ever. That was like probably my greatest asset. Like I was an energizer bunny. I would go, 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 go. I'd be unrelenting in running the floor. And that was, I kind of see like, I see that in some players like Pascal Siakam. Like he's
Mm.
become a superstar. Well, super. I'll say a very good all star. And that's one of his bread and butters. He's just a non-stop motor on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I was surprised when you brought that up. 'Cause I kind of figured you would have, and this I guess is tough for me to say, but I figured that you would have caught on from that what I was doing it. But maybe you're just a little more skilled than I was back then.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
throw you
the
some
honestly,
flowers.
that's a little bit of the truth there. Right? You really had to work on the skill side of things. For me, that came naturally. I don't know why, but it was just it
Oh, you
was
started
natural.
younger. Well, think about it. And we'll give you guys a story. I was probably grade 5, grade 6, and there's a bunch of us on the team. We play basketball, and at halftime, maybe even grade 7, you and your friends, who are all our little brothers, would play at half and just shoot hoops. Right? So you guys were ingrained with that at a much earlier age. Right. And you bring that up, right? And I think that points to your idea of if I started earlier, I would have been better. For me, one of the choices that I didn't make was pursuing what University One actually was. If I
Hmm.
was a little more proactive and if I looked at it as, yeah, I know I'm not going to the NBA, but I can still get my school paid for, or at least some of it paid for, I should have looked, okay, what does University One mean? Does it matter where I do it? And how would that translate to a degree? And I should have gone to Alberta, played a couple years of basketball, and then come back, finish my degree, and who knows what would have happened, right? But I think when it comes to choices, you're right. It's about one common theme here is going all in, right? And I think we could even title that, the real talk is going all in. And when we talk about our faith journey, it's about doing those faith push-ups and sit-ups and running that you need to do. It's about how do you live your life, because there's I think it's a parable, right? About either you're on the fence, you're being lukewarm and you spit out of God's mouth, or you're cold or you're hot, right? In your faith life, you have to, sorry, not you have to, you have to, but you should be going all in. We want to be on, there's a Christian terminology jargon, on fire for God, right? If you're only doing it halfway, then you might as well not be doing it, right? And the traditional Christian story for those who've been in the church is you start off in church when you're younger, you kind of have this relationship with God. You go through your teenage years and you get tested quite rapidly with, you're growing as a person, more influences, you go to university, even more influences. And it's kind of at that point where you either are going to fall away from your faith, or you really blossoms and grows, because you're making a choice at that point about, am I choosing to be uh, a strong believer and deny things of the world, or am I choosing to follow the world? And this is, again, very generic North American Christian cycle, right? And then if you fall away, either you fall away for good, or at a later point in your life, you come back to God. And in between, there's challenges, of course, but it's about the choice, ultimately the choice of, what do you want to do, right? Because we can always talk the talk, but it's that walking the walk, which is the real testament of what you're doing and what you believe in.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely agree with everything you said. I think when I was from the fall off of my choices of not working sports, working for me for my future, I then turned to the ways of the world. But I think
Mm,
where my darkest places were in life were not when I was fully engaged in the world and I rejected the things of God. It was when I was in the in between, when I was trying to do both. I was trying to
mm,
put on a face on Sundays and in front of my friends that were Christian, and then with my other friends. And the rest of the week, I would be living for the world. I would not care about anything else. That's where I was the most split, the most at the darkest place in my life, because I wasn't all in. And it's very easy to get there. It's very easy to feel at that, what am I even doing of in this whole Christianity thing? And it came to that crossroad. Am I going to just abandon my faith and live the way I want to as serving self, or am I going to take my faith in Christ seriously as the most important thing in my life, as as treasuring God above anything else in this world? And for me, with all the evidence that I looked up and all the evidence I've seen in my life, I had to make the choice saying, I can't do this anymore of being one foot with the world and one foot with Christ. I'm gonna give my best to him. I'm going to give everything I have for him, and I'm going to follow the call he has on my life. And that's a choice you have to make. Whoever's tuning in today, maybe you consider yourself in your terms a strong Christ follower. That's why you're tuned in to the Sports Reverends, because you like sports and you like faith. But I would challenge you to examine every area of your life. Is your life in every area of it honoring to God? If you can say without a shadow of a doubt, yes, it is, then you're doing great. You're doing better than I, because there's still to this day where I struggle, where I have to continually go back to God and say, Lord, can you help me fix this area, because I'm serving myself in this area instead of serving you. And that's the part of really, it's the beauty of the Christian journey. That's why we see so many examples of sports and faith and how they just climb and they cling together, because you see the fight in sports as well. If you're able to put the grind in, and fourth quarter comes by and you're the one where you can persevere a little bit further because you put the work in, you got up at 5 a.m. and did the extra workout, that's going to help you excel. The same thing with your faith. Like, how much are you going to invest? How much are you going to work at it? How much are you going to pursue it? And how much are you going to keep it at the forefront of your mind? As an athlete, you got to watch what you eat. When you go out with your friends, are you going to be, you're going to indulge all the time and be like Zion Williamson, have all the skills in the world, and you're out for 50% of every season you play in? Or are you going to take it seriously? Are you going to be careful and understand what you put in, the nutrients is what's going to overflow from out of you? Same thing with your relationship with Christ.
Look at the teams that are championship teams. You can tell when there's teams that are just based on talent and they just overwhelmingly win. And this is regardless at any level. Or you can look at the teams that are a bond, are a unit. They've worked together, they've bled together, they've sweat together. There's that different chemistry that's there. And they know that in crunch time, they've all done their best. They've all been putting in their best effort to get to the championship, right? And so the same thing occurs in your Christian walk, right? You can tell yourself whatever you want. You can say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna uh, talk like this. I'm gonna consume this." But it's just a one-off, just a little bit. It's just, with this group of people or by myself. It's not hurting anybody. Or you can say, this is what I want. This is the standard I've set for myself. And not only am I going to try and reach that standard, but I'm going to try and exceed that standard. Right. And that's, in the Christian faith, something like exceeding that standard might be, hey, I've allocated 20 minutes for my prayer time. But as you're praying, you're listening to God's voice and you push in, you push in and you push in. You don't put a time limit on it. You don't worry, oh, my tummy's a little rumbly. I need to eat first before I keep praying. No, you push in. Or you see that opportunity that you've been praying for, whether it's to talk to somebody about God or it's to help somebody out or whatever the case is, and you take that opportunity. You don't even hesitate. You take it because that's what you're working towards. You're asking God, hey, give me opportunities. You see the opportunity and now you take it. You have to be all in. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect because we all sin. I don't care who you are. We all sin. We all fall into the glory of God. There's that passage in Romans, but it's the intentionality of saying, want to do more, right? I want to read my Bible every day. Okay. So maybe as a novice, you start reading with just the Bible app, but then it turns into, what does this mean? What does this mean? How do I learn this? How do I study the Bible? Right. And then you're all of a sudden you're joining a Bible study. You're talking about it. You're growing your faith that way. It's about taking the steps every day to say, I want to pursue God, not just because I should or I think I need to, but because I want to. I want to build that relationship. I want it to be a two-way street. I want to be able to tell somebody when they ask me, why do I believe in Jesus? More than just, oh, this is how I grew up. The same way when you see teams all going towards a final goal of, we want to win this championship. We want to do this together as a team. Your end goal is, I want to go worship God in heaven. And I want to bring as many people as I can with me so that we have a giant community up there. But it starts with your intentionality, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian when you were, a young kid and you grew up in a Christian home, or if you become a Christian when you're an older adult. There's no the difference between your growth journey as a player and your growth journey as a fellow believer isn't necessarily based on time. Just because somebody's been following God since they're 5 doesn't mean they have a stronger relationship as somebody who's only been following with God since they've been 35. The intentionality matters, the understanding matters, the pursuit of God matters. So don't use that as a disqualifier as saying, oh, well, I just became a Christian a couple of years ago. I can't do this or I can't do that. Wrong. You just have to it's really not about you at all at the end of the day. It's not about what skill, like you talked about Moses, right? Yeah, on Sunday. He was a stutterer. He was full of
Hubbada, hubbada, hubbada.
self-doubt. He was the kind of guy who you'd say, okay, this is our solution to the problem. And he's probably the guy going, yeah, but what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? God doesn't need us, right? He chooses to use us. We just have to be open. So it's not about what we want, it's about what God wants. And it's about us allowing God to flow through us.
Yeah, I got one final thought, and it brings it back to the college basketball game. You got a guy like Cooper Flagg, and then you take the two other projected second and third NBA draft prospects, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
all three of these guys, they know how to play basketball. They know the game inside and out. They know that they can get any kind of bucket they want. They can take whatever shot they want. The difference I see is with Cooper Flagg is that Cooper Flagg, who's not only the best player in the ACC, but the best player in all of college basketball, going to be the number 1 overall pick. He plays the game the right way. He constantly makes the next decision, the right basketball decision. What you see with Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, you see some amazing talents, could be incredible stars in the NBA one day. But their decision making when it comes to taking shots in basketball is I can get whatever shot I want and I can probably make them a lot of the time. The percentages will drop of doing the right basketball play, but I can get what I want. It's going to make me look good. And you see a team like Rutgers having the second and third best player in college basketball not even make the tournament. You know, it's just like the teachers in the olden days in the Bible times. They call them the Pharisees. They knew all about the Bible. They knew all about the word, the rules at the time. Okay, but they weren't able to put it to heart. They weren't able to take it to heart and live it out. That was their biggest problem, and that's that's a problem for many of us. I think a lot of us can relate that way. We got to not only know what the gospel has to say, the gospel truth that Jesus died for you, he rose again, that he loves you, he wants to have a relationship with you, that if you believe in him, you will go to heaven. If you put your faith in him, it'll be the source to all of your problems. That's the truth that we got to share. And it's one thing to know it, and it's another thing to live it out. So that's my
Absolutely.
challenge and encouragement for all of us is to live it out. A lot of you are athletic. We're good in your athletics. If you're watching this show, you probably could have taken those fadeaway jumpers instead of making the right play, and you would have looked good. But is that the right thing to do? Is that the best thing for a team to win the championship, to reach the goal of winning people to the Lord and for you to grow closer to him? I like how you put that.
That is a phenomenal way to end our show today. Here's your challenge, and I think it's. I kind of hate that you say this all the time, but it's so great. Love God, love others. It's just there's no better way of saying it. Really, it's so
Why do you
succinct.
hate
It
it?
gets to the point. I hate it because it's you coming up with it. As my little brother, my dumb little brother,
I'm sure I
who's doing the
stole
right
it
thing.
from somewhere. Okay.
Maybe, but I attribute it to you for now. But I think it's great. It's a great way to really phrase in your mind how you want to live your life. Love God, love others, share the message of Christ, take those opportunities. You've been challenged by the sports reverends here, the OG, and we want to hear how this has impacted your life this upcoming week. So share your hot sports takes. We want to hear what is God doing in your life, and yeah, check us out on X, on Instagram, for all you old guys and potentially old ladies on Facebook, on all your social media platforms. And yeah, before we go, I know it's April Fools when we're recording this, but you have some hot news coming in. What's going on?
Yes, we got some special guests joining us in potentially end of April, beginning of May. One of them being Godfrey Adderley. He is a senior pastor in downtown Toronto of Stone Church. He has some inside scoops on Ja Morant. He gave me this information before the Taylor Jenkins firing, and he has firsthand experience on Ja Morant. He's going to share a little shit on who he is as a player and what he got to experience. We got another legend coming in to join us as well. His name is Pastor Jason Luscombe. He is the leader of the Eastern Ontario district of the PAOC here in Canada. He has got a heart for God and loves sports as well. And he's got some great takes on what we're going to dive into. So you guys got to tune in for those. We even may have another downtown Toronto pastor joining us as well. His name's Jason Randall. He's newly started at the church in Regent Park, a church that we planted a few years ago, and he is now the leader of it. And he is from the States. He's from Pittsburgh. He is a baseball guy, and he can probably give us some key insider scoop here on what's going on in the baseball world and his perspective from a outside Blue Jays homer kind of view of the Blue Jays as well. I think that'll be cool.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So get ready for those in the next upcoming weeks. Prep yourselves for that. It'll be a great couple shows when we have those guys on. But for now, as always, love God and love others, guys. Peace.
Peace.